Hello, and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview. This is a show where we take a look at what's coming in the current edition of the North Coast Journal. I am your host, Tanya Schrum, and we are joined by North Coast Journal's news editor, Thad Greenson, and arts and features editor, Jennifer Fumiko Cahill. Welcome to you both.
Hey, Tanya.
Hey. Hope everybody's having a fun, windy, sunny week.
I was going to say I haven't blown away just yet.
Whew, it has been a wind tunnel.
I almost didn't get here from the headwinds. I was like, should I just go home?
Well, I finished house sitting yesterday, and I couldn't believe the young pilot that landed that plane yesterday. I was like, are they getting here? They got here. He's a pro. So everybody needs to keep everything battened down, and in the meantime, we are going to have an edition this week that has a bit of a theme, and Jennifer's going to fill us in on the cover story.
Yes, this week's issue turned into a theme issue, and we have lots and lots of information, everything you might want to know about the Humboldt Crabs, our local baseball team, which is old. It is now going into its 81st year. Way to go. Still in good shape for 81. And we have a lot of stuff to cover in for this issue, so I'll go real fast and start out by saying thank you to the Humboldt Historical Society, which allowed us to reprint a really great story that is a Scott Gorley's piece about the history of I shouldn't say the Humboldt crabs. It began as Palladini's Humboldt crabs. The seafood company Palladini's that was the original sponsor of the Humboldt crabs in 1946. And you can take a look on, I believe it's page 12, where there is a lineup of the handsome mugs of the first inaugural team in 1946. And everybody's wearing these wonderful uniforms that have these big redwood trees. I feel like we got to bring that back.
I agree. I thought it was a wonderful photo.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think they should at least offer it as a souvenir purchase. I want to wear the redwood tree and like a crab on the back. I'd wear that. So he talks a lot about a couple of people who've been really pivotal in the growth and the maintenance of the Crabs baseball team, which again, 81 years, starting with Lou Bonamini, a name that you hear around and that you see at the ballpark. Bonamini was the person who founded the whole organization and really kept it going for a long time, past the point where he was like, I gotta retire. And according to some people, at some point he was like, I'm retiring. That's it. It'll just fold if nobody else takes over, knowing secretly that he would probably still do it if nobody took over. But then the Nutter family stepped in with, he has a really great, I should say, Gorley has a really great interview with Ned Barsulia, who talks a lot about the history and the early days of Lou simultaneously running the team on the field and running the snack shack on the side, which is just incredible. And I love it. I love the whole thing. But then Jerry Nutter stepped in and, as he says, stepped up to the plate and took over and kept the organization going. And it's been really something to see how the Crabs have evolved. Jerry Nutter, of course, is the father of Matt Nutter, who was a player, who was a pitcher for the Crabs. And it just seems to be really a local tradition and a local multi-generational family organization. And it's great to see. We also had this piece that Scott Gorley wrote was written for the 70th anniversary. So we just added a little update on the fact that they have now changed leagues. I don't know if you knew this, but At the end of 2023, the Crabs switched over to the, let me see, it is the Redwood Empire League, or pardon me, the Pacific Empire League. And so now they're playing in that league, but with a lot of teams that they've been playing with before. And it's always fun to go and root for the home team and to heckle the opposing team. Sadly, our piece on heckles got squeezed out, but I urge you to look at the Get Out this week, which is our Crabs correspondent Brandon Dixon's coverage of the opening weekend of Crabs baseball, in which he has at the very end this week's Heckle of the Week. It's a doozy. Go check it out.
Well, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, when you go to a Crabs game, there is that real feeling of community and family. And so learning the history in this piece was not surprising that it seems like it was always that kind of tradition that the families were running the concessions or the gates and really keeping it a local tradition that we still get to benefit from now. And it is crab season if you haven't been paying attention, so you got to get to a game while you
Yeah.
can.
And it's a volunteer board. It's got all these people who just really give their time like crazy to keep it going, which is really great to see. And actually the local love of the Crabs is what segue is what got us some of the renovations that we've seen done.
And with that segue, we're going to pivot over to our news editor who has a piece on the renovations to the Arcata ballpark.
Yeah, Tanya. So a couple years ago in 2022, State Senator Mike McGuire, who's now the State Senate President pro tem, seemingly kind of surprised everybody and just announcing that he had secured a $1 million appropriation from the state for renovations to the Arcata ballpark. And fast forward 2 years, that project is now just about done. There was a frenzied effort, it sounds like, in the lead up to opening day to get it mostly done. They're still waiting for a gate that's being delivered and some landscaping work. But I was just kind of curious to kind of revisit like where this appropriation came from and what inspired it. And I was kind of surprised to learn. I caught up with Matt Filar, a board member with the Crabs, and I'm sorry, Matt Filer. I've been mispronouncing his name for years, which I just learned when reporting the story. But Matt told me that this wasn't something the Crabs had asked for. That, of course, needed improvements to the ballpark had been on their radar for a long time. It sounds like nothing had really been done substantively to the stadium for decades. But that this was something that the senator just kind of took on himself, and that I guess he holds an annual event, barbecue event at the ballpark, and is also just an avid Crabs fan, as are some of his staff. So he just kind of identified the need and was like, let's get it done. So he, over the last couple of years, he and the city have been working on coming up with kind of design plans, which the Crabs organization got to weigh in on. And while I think what most people will notice straight off is kind of the facelift that the facade to the ballpark got, which looks really nice if anybody's driven by it. It just it's much it was a needed update. So it has kind of brick pillars and some wood siding, and then a nice arch overhang that says Arcata Ballpark, home of the Humboldt Crabs. But the primary push was to make the ballpark accessible, and so the prior wheelchair accessibility ramp wasn't up to ADA standards, was not at a safe pitch, and then there were parts of the ballpark that just were inaccessible to wheelchair users, and so that was kind of the reason for the season, so to speak. And in addition to the $1 million in state funds, the city of Arcata put forward about $750,000, which it drew from a variety of different funds to make the project happen. And as I caught up with Merritt Perry, the city manager, and he was just talking about kind of what a community treasure the ballpark is and the Crabs are, and that it's wonderful to make that available to all community members now, where it hadn't been for some time.
I love it. And I also love the fact that it wasn't something that needed to be begged for or addressed. That it was a problem that got solved.
Yeah, which seems very rare. I will say that I would be remiss if I didn't say that both Matt and Merritt just kind of gave Senator McGuire some flowers of saying that he's generally really good about just looking out for his district and identifying things that are needed and trying to make them happen.
Ah, that's wonderful. Well, and of course, that's going to segue to our other news story that you're bringing us this week about government that maybe isn't working so efficiently.
Yeah, revisited what's going on out in Blue Lake, which is seems like quickly yeah, tried to steal the mantle of the local government that is most fraught with drama and some would say dysfunction. And so, readers, listeners, viewers will remember that early last month, kind of shockwaves went through Blue Lake when the city parted ways with its longtime city manager, Amanda Major, who had been in the job almost a decade. We, in prior reporting, we were, unveiled or kind of revealed how the city council violated the Brown Act multiple times, state open meeting and transparency laws, and kind of making that decision. And so in this story, one of the things I wanted to do is just really try to revisit that decision and see if we could come up with a clear timeline of exactly who on the council decided to part ways with Major, when they made that decision. And unfortunately, we've just been unable to. So we filed some Public Records Act requests, and you know, what we know is that this decision was made sometime the week of May 6th. Nobody will really own who made it, when, or why. One of the things we sought in records requests was whether documents that would reveal whether the council had tried to move forward with actually firing Major. Those documents don't exist, so it doesn't seem like the council did take that step. And we also asked for any complaints and investigations of them during Major's, again, tenure with the city. And there were zero official complaints. So what we know is that the council, after approving a contract extension with Amanda and a $10,000 raise in early March, less than 2 months later, decided to give her 4 months severance pay in order to go away and not sue the city. Everything beyond that is murky. But of course, a lot has happened since the city parted ways with Miss Major, including recall petitions, recall proceedings that have been initiated against 3 of the council members, the 3 new council members that took office after the November election. So proponents of the recall have taken the first step. It's a very regimented process, but have gathered enough signatures to now officially start a window of 40 days when they have to gather signatures from, I think it's 30% of the electorate. And if they're successful in that, I think that's about 250-ish valid registered voter signatures, then it will move forward to going on a ballot and actually going before the Blue Lake electorate. And in the midst of all this, another city council member, Christopher Farrar, abruptly resigned. 2 minutes before a council meeting was stated to start, he sent a letter of resignation in saying that he felt it was the right time, and he'd really, and felt good about the things he'd accomplished on council. Kind of went out of his way to compliment constituents in Blue Lake and city staff, and included 0 kind words for his council colleagues, and walked out the door. So in addition to facing the recall, the council has a vacancy now that it will have to decide what to do with, either appointing a replacement or moving forward to a special election.
It's fascinating, and I really appreciate your reporting because I feel like you made it way more clear than some of the other reporting I've seen. I was very confused on what is going on in the little town of Blue Lake.
There has been a lot going on, and it's been hard to get clear answers of exactly what's going on, both with the decision with Miss Major, and then just both the recall and the process of appointing a replacement are kind of complex. So we wanted to kind of portray them as clearly as possible, and also be really clear with readers about what we don't know, which is frustrating sometimes, but that's where we're at.
Well, and hopefully the requests will yield some answers. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I'm sorry, I was just fantasizing about quitting the journal 2 minutes before we go on air, thanking Tanya and our producer Matt, and bouncing.
I also like that in his statement he said, "I feel that this is the right time."
That's me stepping off onto a lifeboat off the Titanic, saying, "I feel this is the right time."
I'd be remiss if I also didn't say that I tried contacting Chris multiple times, hoping that he'd talk to me about this decision, but he has not responded.
He has not found the time.
It is not the right time.
It's not the right time for him to speak on this issue. Well, before we move on, I encourage everybody to read the entire article and, the entire journal cover to cover, as I always do. But do you have any final thoughts about this reporting before we move on?
Just that we're gonna stay on it, and it is a fairly unprecedented situation of a recall effort targeting 3 council members all at the same time. It'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward.
It definitely sounds like if Blue Lake needed some entertainment, it's time to go to a council meeting. And with that, we're going to get back into our baseball theme, and Jennifer has a story to make your mouth water before you go to the game.
So I am not a big baseball or really sports person per se, but I am a deep expert on going to get snacks. And so I am a great person to bring along to sporting events, because I will go and wait online during crucial moments of the game and go get everybody food. So respect to those of you out there carrying the cardboard trays. I see you. At the Arcata ballpark, things are different. Things are different. We do not have the same kind of snack shack situation that other ballparks have. Have you been to a Major League Baseball game lately? Holy smokes, it's expensive. And bougie. Expensive and bougie. We're getting Gilroy garlic fries. We're getting $21 hamburgers. What's happening? And I know there are going to be people, some of them in my office, who say, oh my God, $9 for a cheeseburger. But I defy you to find a similar quality $9 cheeseburger in this county, much less at a stadium / ballpark, etc., where you are normally captive and gouged accordingly. But I went to the Arcata ballpark and spoke to some of the staff at the snack shack, the concession stand, and maybe frightened some people in the picnic area. And I definitely psyched out the catcher who was warming up for the other team, because I got one of everything and then sat down by my lonesome and sampled it all. Oh my God, this poor woman, this lovely woman that was at the next table was trying to get her boyfriend to look over at this woman who's eating 16 things by herself at that picnic table. But it was worth it, because now I have the scoop for you. I have a ranking, and I almost never do rankings. I have a ranking of the best thing to eat at the ballpark. Tanya, do you want to fight about any of it?
I read it. And no, I don't really want to fight about any of it, honestly.
Really?
I went back and went, no, she's on point.
I know Thad wants to fight.
There was a glaring omission, Jen, and I should have brought this up in the editing process. Peanuts. How can you not have ballpark peanuts as a part of the snack experience?
Because the peanuts are not made locally or on site. And so they are the same peanuts you might get at another event, another locale, dare I say, another snack shack.
Whereas the nachos are screaming with originality and local zest.
As a person who has worked a Little League snack shack before, I want you to know that the ladling of nacho cheese, evenness, sometimes layering, depending, is an art. I will not have it disparaged, Thaddeus. I have made some controversial choices. Number 4 being the chocolate chip cookie. I know that that's not a traditional ballpark food, but it felt so wholesome. I bit into that chocolate chip cookie made by the Cal Poly Humboldt Dining Services. It was one of those big ones. I bit into it, and the national anthem started. Was it the Crabgrass Band? Maybe. But it still felt American in the best way. It felt like Norman Rockwell, but like one of the good paintings. And then I stand by, I think that the hot dog is, you can't fight it. Number 3 is the hot dog. You can't fight a hot dog at a baseball game. It's just a Nathan's dog, but it's hot. It shows up hot, steamy in the little foil thing. I did talk to an avid baseball and ballpark food fan who was very disappointed to see that there was no relish. No relish and no kraut. I am somebody who has condiments in her purse, so I'm not afraid of that. Hot sauce in my bag, please. You don't even know. I got a whole deli in there. So I am not broken by the absence of relish and kraut, but a basic dog with mustard on it, fantastic. You cannot fight its value. Can you beat it? Can you top it?
Yeah, the chili dog.
You can cover it in chili until you can't even see that there's a hot dog under there. Like when you get the chili dog here, they will put cheese on it. For extra, they will put the nacho cheese from the nachos on it. And that is the greatest lesson in this, by the way, is that customization is possible. Whatever you see on the whiteboard, when you look at the nachos and you're like, okay, I can get chili on the nachos. Can I also get shredded cheese on the chili nachos? Can I get onions on there? Like the onions on the chili cheese dog. Can I get those on the burger? Can I get a side of chili with the burger? Can I get a side of nacho cheese with the burger? You really just have to talk to the staff there. And I mean, I'm not saying you have to tip, but as I mentioned in the story, if you don't tip, everyone hears the deep and penetrating silence where a tip tip hooray should have been. Don't let that be you. Yeah. Even if you throw change in there, you still get a tip tip hooray. You know, I'm just saying.
There's just some basic tenets of society. Tip,
Yes.
don't litter.
The empanadas were not available when I went. And I
Oh,
know
that's
that,
a shame.
I know that's Thad's other objection.
I love the empanadas, yeah.
Slice of Humboldt Pie does a great job with their empanadas. I did, however, have their pie, and that night they had the the peach berry crumble. Fantastic. Tastes like summer. Tastes like summer. Tastes like I'm standing in the field of dreams. Fantastic. And I also pointed out that if you feel like you need more pie, they're right there. You're right in the neighborhood. They're just over on like K Street. So you can go and get a pie. You should always be thinking about when you can add a pie to your day anyway. It's summer.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Well, Jennifer, you've given us a lot to consider. And I think the fights were all,
I'll be fighting more this week.
You'll have more to fight with, but that was my only critique is you can never put a plain hot dog under or above a chili dog, but that's me.
I feel it.
Well, that wraps up our edition of the North Coast Journal preview this week. Make sure that you go to your favorite newsstand and pick it up. Or, of course, you can see it 24/7, 365 at northcoastjournal.com. Everything will be available tomorrow, so grab your copy. And with that, I thank Jennifer and Thad, as usual, for being with us. And my name is Tanya Schrum. Thanks for all of you being with us and staying informed and supportive of our North Coast community.